2013. This is a live special broadcast. Boston, the city of Boston, is on lockdown. Now, of course, we'll be running a ton of videos on this content. We'll be analyzing the data, what's hitting the news wires, you know, the sources that we're getting from you, sending information via our tip line, etc. But at times like these, when literally people's hearts are pounding, and Boston has literally declared martial law. It is a police state in Boston right now. Mass transit is completely locked down. People are being told to stay in their homes because there's terrorists on the loose. And the mainstream media has already jumped on the bandwagon that this is, you know, Muslim extremism, that this could potentially be linked to Al-Qaeda. And it's not to say that that isn't the case. It very well could be the case. But let's not jump to conclusions. Just because the mainstream media and CNN points a finger and says, these are the culprits, these are the suspects, doesn't mean I'm going to believe it until I've verified it for myself. Now remember, CNN has been the worst news organization in terms of breaking these stories really in the history of news, almost. I mean, it's been pretty unbelievable. They've named two suspects. Prior to these two, there was a Saudi national that has now mysteriously been deported. This has been reported all over the alternative media. Of course, we first broke this to you. I called bullshit on it from day one. Immediately when they said, there it is, there's the Saudi national, you know, that's the culprit. You know, the little feelers go up. I'm like, bullshit. That's not the case. Or I highly doubt it's the case. Now, that's been kind of a cover-up. He's now being deported outside of the country, even though it was verified that he wasn't the suspect. So, you know, raises our eyebrows, raises a tremendous amount of suspicion. There was the indication that it was the gentleman from the surveillance footage who his pants got blown off. Many of you are familiar with that. You can go look this up if you haven't seen it already, where he's running from the scene and his pants blow off his legs and you just see his skinny, naked legs. And they said, oh, that's the culprit. So they got both of those wrong. Two people wrong. They've been linking the story to all kinds of things, and now we're just supposed to assume that these are the culprits. Now, again, they very may well be. They very may well be the suspects. But we're going to investigate this further before we just agree with the mainstream media. Okay? Because, again, there's tremendous motive here. So let me go through some of these reports, and a lot of interesting things to talk about today. And I know I'm going to butcher the names of these people. Let me go to our screen share here. I see our room is filling up pretty quickly. Welcome, everybody, to the live broadcast. Again, if you're just joining us, we'll be doing a lot of post-analysis on this. We'll be putting up our traditional YouTube videos. But at times like these, really the best way to do it is just to do a live show because literally I'm digesting this information along with you for the very first time. And it makes it, I think, a lot more interesting and a lot more exciting. We can kind of work together here to analyze this situation. Now, I've downloaded via Google Hangout a few different apps. So hopefully you notice I've got the little overlay banner here in the lower corner. Also, I'm hoping that it's provided an app so I can actually see the chat stream. So I'm still trying to figure that out here, but I really want to see what you're saying as well. Let me go to the screen share, and I'll pull up some of the news here today. Okay, here's the front page of the Drudge Report. Again, brother bombers, one dead. Manhunt, and I'm going to butcher the name for Zokar, I think is how you might say it. So bear with me, I'm going to butcher all these names. I don't really know if anyone knows how to pronounce these. I've heard CNN and a few of the other guys butcher it as well. Black Hat Tamerlan dead. He's dead. Supposedly, allegedly, he may have even blown himself up via some kind of bomb. From the reports I've read, he's also suffered gunshot wounds when I went to bed late last night. There was reports that a police officer was down, shot dead, another person critically wounded at MIT's campus. And then I woke up this morning and my phone had literally exploded. I've got friends from all over the country say, Christopher, you got to get on this. And a lot of interesting comments actually from my friends and kind of their take. One of my friends, and I'm going to get to this in a moment, said, Christopher, you got to report that this is a religious war. You got to report that this is a spiritual battle. Why isn't the mainstream media reporting on the fact that these two suspects, the alleged bombers, are Islamic? Okay, and so that's yet to be verified. Although CNN, from what I was watching a few minutes ago, was providing that link conveniently for us, like they like to do. But let's investigate that before we just jump on the bandwagon here. The brothers are both from Russia, region near Chechnya, bragged of the bombing. The dead suspect, according here to the Drudge Report, was very religious. He was a Muslim boxer. Became an American citizen on September 11th. Dates. Dates specifically. Let me go back here to see if I can get get out of screen share. The dates. This is kind of interesting because the dates that were selected for the Boston Massacre: Patriots Day, Tax Day, April 15th, the commemoration, celebration of our first battles, Concord and Lexington, very much provided an intuition that this would be linked to the Patriot movement and the Liberty movement and survivalists, and had been alluded to and even discussed openly and publicly by the mainstream media. This has been the topic of conversation. We had the bomb in Waco. I've done those reports. You can dig up the archives. Part of me thinks this doesn't make a whole lot of sense if the brothers, and this is a brother allegedly terrorist act, why would they pick those dates if they were just tied to Islamic terrorism or, radicalized Islam, if you want to call it that? Why would they pick Patriot style dates? So part of that seems like a hole. I don't know if that provides a clue or whatnot, but part of that just doesn't really quite register with me and make a whole lot of sense at this given point in time. Back to the reports. Tamerlan says he could be selected for the U.S. Olympic team and be a naturalized American. Tamerlan fled Chechnya with his family because of the conflict in the early 90s and lived 4 years in Kazakhstan before getting to the United States as a refugee. Page just reloaded. Tamerlan says he loves the movie Borat, even though some of the jokes are a bit too much. Well, that's kind of cool how he was able to do a plug for Borat. Maybe we can all, go watch the movie later. I'm sure Borat, I forget who the actor is, he's probably shaking his head over that. Tamerlan says he doesn't usually take his shirt off so girls don't get bad ideas. I'm very religious. So allegedly, this guy doesn't take his shirt off because he doesn't want girls to get the wrong idea. But allegedly, he does blow up and set off and detonate bombs at marathons and murder children. Pretty ridiculous. Pretty ridiculous. Tamerlan says he doesn't drink or smoke anymore. God said no alcohol. A Muslim, he says, there are no values anymore, and worries that people can't control themselves. Tamerlan says his girlfriend is half Portuguese, half Italian girlfriend, and converted to Islam. She's beautiful, man. That's what he says. A native of Chechnya. So where is Chechnya? Let's take a look. Supposedly he's from, and I'm going to butcher this probably as well, Dagestan. Dagestan. I'm not sure how to pronounce that. That is south of Chechnya. And of course, there's been a lot of historical terrorist activity. There's been an Islamic insurgency in parts of Russia and this region of the world that has resulted in mass killings, mass deaths. Hundreds of children have died in separate terrorist events in years past. This is what we're learning so far. So I brought up this map here. Back to the Drudge Report. Now, of course, brother bombers, one is dead. The gentleman I was speaking of here in the black hat is dead. The gentleman, or the suspect rather, I don't know if these people are gentlemen, but the suspect wearing a white hat is on the run. This also actually does not make a lot of sense to me at all. This does not make a lot of sense. How is the suspect with the white hat on the run? There was a police chase yesterday. They killed a cop. One of the brothers may have blown himself up, suffered gunshot wounds. You would have the full force of the Boston Police Department, Special Forces, the FBI. I mean, really, the city is on lockdown right now. People aren't even going to work. This is like O.J. Simpson chase times 1,000 right now, but in the social media technology age where you're watching guys like me on the internet report on this kind of thing. So somehow, one of the brothers was able to escape. This either shows just complete ineptitude of the police force, or there's something that, again, doesn't smell right here. There's something that, again, there's more questions that are begging to be answered, at least from my vantage point digesting this with you live. So that is another question mark that I have. And you can see here the police, special forces out in full force. Isn't it nice that special forces, you can see here, it appears that this is an assault rifle being held here. Isn't that nice that these guys get to hold the assault rifles? They want to take these away from you, and obviously this tragedy will be propagandized by Obama to take the guns away, of course, et cetera, et cetera. I've spoken about this ad nauseum. Looks like here this is a police force shotgun of some sort. Manhunt in Boston after bombing suspect is killed. Watertown, Massachusetts. The two suspects in the Boston Marathon bombing killed an MIT police officer and hurled explosives at a police in a car chase and gun battle overnight that left one of them dead and his brother on the run. Authorities said Friday as thousands of officers swarmed the streets in a manhunt that paralyzed the Boston area. The suspects were identified by law enforcement officials and family members as Zokhar and Tamerlan Tursunov. I totally butchered that. Ethnic Chechen brothers who had lived in Dagestan, which neighbors Chechnya in southern Russia. I'm sure Russia loves this, and I'm sure RT is also going to have a field day with this, and hopefully this will create a lot of anti-Russian sentiment. I'm being facetious here, but hopefully, the more anti-Russian sentiment and anti-Muslim and Islamic extremism that we can generate here, and hopefully the mainstream media will do, and we know they'll do an awesome job of this, so that America and Americans in general have just a real healthy hate for these people. It makes it a lot easier when we go in and invade their countries to pull the trigger. So I'm sure there'll be a nice, healthy, Islamic extremism hate, although Islamic extremism really is just a small subset of the Muslim faith. I mean, it's, a very, people would argue with me on this, but again, it'll be labeled so that all Muslims are terrorists now, and that all Muslims here in the United States have to fear, walking down the street. Because that's the police state type of environment that we want to create here in the United States. Pretty interesting how this is being propagandized. I see our room is filling up here pretty quick as well. Great to have you all here. Join the live broadcast. This, of course, will be re-archived. We're doing a live format today to break down the news. Martial law has literally been declared in the city of Boston. This looks like New Orleans post the hurricane. But this is a terrorist hurricane. Two brothers on the loose, one dead, the other somehow got away. He's somehow on the run. Either shows the gross ineptitude of the police department, special forces, etc., or again, something doesn't smell right here, in my opinion. Boston locked down for massive manhunt. One bombing suspect killed by police, the other at large. Watertown, Massachusetts. Boston and its suburbs remain in an unprecedented state of lockdown Friday afternoon as scores of police and federal agents searched for the remaining suspect in the Boston Marathon bombings after his brother died in an early morning confrontation with authorities. The quest to find Tursnarnev, butchering the name, a 19-year-old immigrant from Kyrgyzstan, riveted the nation in a way reminiscent of the televised 1994 police chase of O.J. Simpson, only in the smartphone era. In Boston, it triggered the massive disruption of a major American city with mass transit canceled, schools and business closed, and hundreds of thousands of residents ordered to stay indoors. A 20-block area of the suburb of Watertown was completely cordoned off. Law enforcement officials said they believed that the suspect may be strapped with explosives, which only added to the concern. His brother, Tamerlan, 26, was killed during a wild night in which the brothers allegedly robbed a 7-Eleven store, killed an MIT campus police officer, critically wounded a transit officer, and carjacked a Mercedes, nice choice, SUV before getting into a shootout with police. The dramatic turn of events came only hours after the bombers were introduced to the world as suspects via photos and video footage in Monday's bombing that killed 3 people and injured more than 170 at the finish line of the sporting event Boston Marathon. Details continue to emerge on the suspects. Again, these are alleged suspects. They allegedly committed these crimes. Let's not jump to conclusions here. The mainstream has gotten pinpointing the suspects wrong twice already. A Saudi national, they completely mistook, and then they covered up, and now they're deporting them even though they cleared him. There was another suspect that they said who had his pants blown off. He's been cleared. And now these people, everybody's ready to just, start firing Christopher Dorner style at them. Now, I'm not saying that these aren't the legitimate suspects, but we are not going to just take the mainstream media's word for this. Dagestan, if I'm saying that correctly, is just south of Chechnya. It is to the east of Georgia. You can pull a map to see where this is all located. Let me go to the screen share. I want to show you this. I've spoken of this in detail, and let me blow this up. You can see Kraft International. This is Chris Kyle's, or was the late Chris Kyle of Texas. He had written the book. I forget the title of it. It was a bestseller. He donated the proceeds to the family members of friends and victims, really, of Iraq. It could have made him actually a very rich man if he kept the proceeds himself, but he didn't. And he also had a company called Kraft International with this symbol here. And again, these photos of these two people, this has just died. Nobody's talking about this anymore. The highly suspicious looking people in military grade uniforms, khaki pants, khaki boots, black jackets, and the Chris Kyle style Kraft International emblem and logo on the hat here. You can see here a picture of Chris Kyle. Let me zoom back out. There's a better shot of it. This has died. Here's another potential suspect no one's talking about. Detonation device. What is he holding in his hand? Is it a possible detonator, etc.? Is it a false flag? So this all needs to be questioned. Who knows where if these photos have been doctored? Who knows if this is just a hoax? It very well could be. But the fact that this has been glazed over by the mainstream media and not talked about at all and isn't being properly investigated, again, raises another major eyebrow. Proves a point. And now we're on the bandwagon through the mainstream media and the CNNs and the Fox, which I woke up to earlier this morning as friends and family are saying, hey, Christopher, you got to get on this story right away. My cell phone was blowing up. All the attention is on these suspects. All this attention is now on Islamic extremism. these people's Twitter accounts. I'm looking for the Twitter account. I did find the alleged YouTube page. I know a lot of you were having trouble finding the link to it. I did find the link. This is the alleged page. It could be fake, could be planted, it could be someone that just created the page. We don't really know, but we can look at and investigate some of this evidence for ourselves. Bombing suspects, the uncle spoke. They do not deserve to live on this earth. In fact, let me see if I can pull this video up here real quick, and we can watch this if you haven't already seen. And I downloaded an app here. Suspects in Boston bombing. Uncle. The uncle calls suspects losers. Got an app for this here. Let's see if we can do it. Okay, so hopefully that worked. That was the first time that I tested out that app. We should be able to watch YouTube videos, and it mutes my mic, and you're supposed to hear it. So hopefully that worked. You were able to see the uncle speak there. I watched him give really kind of a very impassioned speech. Calls that these brothers losers. He's the uncle. He's the brother of the kids. Says that they're basically a disgrace. That they don't deserve to live. That they, should die. That if the one suspect is still alive, that he should turn himself in, ask for forgiveness. He says that this is not reflective of the Chechen people. He also is distanced. The kids said they were not religious. This is what he's saying. Says and is distancing it from the Muslim faith, Islamic extremism, etc. He said and alluded to the fact that if they were radicalized, it was done here in America. In fact, the Chechen president made a comment here, and I'm going to go to that story in a minute, basically saying that we need to look at America. This has nothing to do with Chechnya. The kids grew up here, so they were radicalized here. So this is what the Chechen president was saying, you know, what is wrong with our society? And again, I believe we need to look more internally within our society itself. What is driving these alleged killers? What is driving the CIA PSYOP killers, Adam Lanza, James Holmes, Jared Loughner? What has detached these people from reality to the point where they can't tell real from what's not real? That they live in a fiction. You know, what is driving this chaos? What is driving this terror? Do we not need to look at ourselves in the mirror and look at the societal issues that are providing a driving force to this kind of mayhem in our streets? Now, again, these suspects are just the alleged suspects. There's been so many conflicting reports over the past several days that it's a friggin' joke. Honestly, Jon Stewart, the comedian, tore up CNN a new asshole a few days ago, which I thought was really funny. Basically just saying that, I mean, it is honestly a joke and a travesty how bad the mainstream media really is. Which I just love, personally. I love watching CNN screw this shit up. I think it's absolutely fantastic because it lends so much more credibility to the alternative media, which now, in my opinion, dominates the news. Quite frankly, the mainstream media cannot compete in a lot of ways from a content perspective. They can certainly and are a lot more powerful in terms of influence, dominating public opinion, although I feel that that's changing. They also have a tremendous amount more resources. These are areas that, the independent media and AMTV in general, needs to strengthen our platform. Our organization, my organization here, along with 1,000, plus others, countless others, our audience that is a part of the media broadcast in real time, just like you are now. So, pretty amazing. Let me go back to some of these reports here. You can see you're back at the YouTube channel here, and I'm going to go to one of their alleged YouTube channels in a minute. The Chechen president says American upbringing to blame. I got a photo here. This looks like an advertisement leaked. Feinstein's true agenda. Here she is, holding a semi-automatic weapon. The Chechen president has apparently released a statement that blames the suspects' American upbringing for their alleged terrorist activity. Tragic events have taken place in Boston. A terrorist attack killed people. We have already expressed our condolences to the people of the city and the American people. Today, the media reports one Sarnev was killed as police tried to arrest him. It would be appropriate if he was detained and investigated and the circumstances and the extent of his guilt determined. I would agree with that. Apparently, the security services needed to calm down the society by any means necessary by implementing a police state, by the way, says Chechen President Ramzan Kadyrov. This is according to BuzzFeed. Any attempt to draw a connection between Chechnya and Sarnev's, the suspect, if they are guilty, is futile. They were raised in the United States, and their attitudes and beliefs were formed there. It is necessary to seek the roots of this evil in America. The whole world must struggle against terrorism. That we know better than anyone else. We hope for the recovery of all the victims, and we mourn with the Americans. Now, I would agree with the Chechen president's statement here. It is necessary to seek the roots of this evil in America. Now, it's not necessarily an American-centric problem, although we have our problems here. We have a lot of them. There is tremendous corruption and tremendous societal deterioration here in the United States that needs to be addressed. Whether or not people say, or you want to say, I don't think we can necessarily blame a single culprit. It's not like violent video games are the only thing responsible for the deterioration of our society and, our morality here as a country or as a nation or as a people. It's not like it's just Hollywood movies. There's so many things we can label. SSRIs, selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, the drugs. Yeah, I believe all of these things provide influence. But I don't think it's one specific thing to pinpoint. Just like it's not the guns that are killing people. People kill people. I mean, there's a lot of ways to kill people. You don't need a semi-automatic, automatic weapon to do it. All you need is a pressure cooker, right? I did that video a few days ago. You need ball bearings. You need fertilizer, things that you can get at Home Depot. I mean, you could kill with this banana here. Is there something in your pocket, or is that just a banana, Christopher? Well, it's just a banana. You know, I'm sure we could figure out a way to use this banana here to kill and murder and to maim. Might be a little bit difficult to do, but again, it's not guns. It's not just guns. It's not just violent video games, Hollywood, SSRIs, so many other factors, you know, are involved with this. At the top of all this, and it's my opinion that this is very much a spiritual battle, that this is very much a spiritual war. Good, evil, yin, yang. You know, that's what I believe that we're fighting, and that to me is really the real great intellectual conversation to be having. That's the philosophical approach to all of this. But we can't necessarily pinpoint just one thing. But I agree with what the Chechen president is saying. We do need to look inherently at what's wrong about American society today. This high level of detachment that is created, promoted an environment that warrants terror. You know, what people don't want to talk about is that some of this terrorism I personally don't agree with, and I'm not endorsing it in any way, but it is warranted to a certain degree. There is a reason why there is a growing portion of Americans angry, pissed off, and disgusted by this country, disgusted by our society, disgusted by our politicians, the criminal banking cartel, these illuminists that have literally gutted American culture, society, gutted the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. Some of this is warranted. These are the tough, difficult questions that we need to analyze. You know, sometimes people think that, you know, I'm against all forms of gun registration or gun control or anything of the sort. You know, that I'm just clearly some kind of anarchist or something like that. That's actually not true. I do think that there should be some level of controls, some level of background checks, of, you know, there's got to be some kind of monitoring that, you know, prevents people from getting hold of certain weapons, the capability to kill these types of devices, etc. But there needs to be a balance. And you see, that's the problem. That's not what President Barack Obama's agenda is. It's not in the best interest of the people. They're not trying to keep it safe. No, they're scapegoating the event for total control, for a totalitarian takeover of our society, for an ideological takeover. You know, Nazism, Muslim extremism, in my opinion, both very much ideological forms of control and government, where you've got a hardcore mix of religious belief and religious doctrine, dogma, integrated within the government itself. An ideological form of power can and is proven to be in history to be very dangerous. Well, it is my opinion that we have an ideological form of control here in the United States of America today. That's exactly what we have. That is the goal, intention, driver, motivation of the Obama administration. People like Dianne Feinstein, Harry Reid, John McCain here even locally. What a friggin' disgrace. A few of my family members have actually met John before, and was very nice enough in person to meet, at least from, you know, what my family and friends have said. But What a disgrace politically. I mean, what an utter disgrace. The things that he's behind. So we do need to take a look, in my opinion, a harder and closer look at our society in a much larger picture of why there is this deterioration and what is driving these heinous acts of violence. And again, this is just what the mainstream media is telling us. They're pinpointing, expecting us to believe these are the suspects, just like Christopher Dorner. I mean, there wasn't a trial. They just started blowing these people up in the streets. They doused him with gasoline, and then they lit the match, and they incinerated him. And if you were close enough to the incineration, you could smell the dead carcass and the skin burning. You know, opening up fire in the streets on 70-year-old ladies. I'm not making this stuff up. On vehicles that did not match the description. So, are these people the killers? I don't know. I don't know. It's just what the mainstream media is telling us. I do know that there's major holes. There's been major conflicting reports. That we can't, that's not arguable. CNN has been a joke. The mainstream media has been a joke. Fox has been a joke. They've gotten everything wrong. And it is our job within the independent alternative media to be the watchdog and to ask the tough questions, demand answers, and search and uncover and find the truth no matter what. At any and all costs. I want to go to the YouTube channel here, and I want to show you this, and I'm going to use our new video app that I downloaded here via the Google Hangout here in a minute. You know what is also amazing about this is look how this is the alleged suspect, the one that's still on the run, with, again, connections to Chechnya. How young these kids are. These aren't even adults. These are children. And I'm actually not even sure the alleged age, but I believe it's like these kids, they look about 19 or 20. So again, that is a trend is, you know, what is wrong with our society that this younger generation seems to always be the perpetrator of these types of terrorist acts? Why is it these kids in their 20s? Why is it this younger generation? What is wrong with America? I mean, honestly, that's what the Chechen president, in my opinion, is 100% correct about. What is wrong with our society that we have kids in their 20s, this high school, college, social media age, addicted to the iPhones, the iPads, the iPods? What is wrong with our society that generation literally has nothing better to do and no better idea outside of murdering civilians, allegedly, and committing heinous acts of violence and implementing these acts of terror and terrorism against the American people? What's driving that? Again, this is what the mainstream media is just completely just like, oh, you know, just over their heads. Nobody's talking about. Nobody's talking about this as a spiritual war. Nobody is digging into the spiritual nature of all of this. And there's a very interesting video I'm going to show you here in a minute from the alleged YouTube channel of one of the suspects here that I'm going to play for all of you. Get out of there real quick. That was a little insane. Who is this suspect? On the run, on the loose. Looks like he appears to like ranch light dressing. On Friday, after a chaotic evening saw his partner in crime and apparently his older brother killed, and as the city locked down to find him, The suspect emerged as the name of the man in the ongoing manhunt in Boston Friday. According to information culled from multiple unconfirmed reports, the suspect, a 19-year-old, almost 20 reportedly, who has been living for the past year in Cambridge, Massachusetts. Here are the basics of what we know about suspect number 2, also known as a suspect in the white hat. The one authorities apparently saw drop a bomb-laden backpack and security footages, and the one currently being pursued by police. He was a student at the University of Massachusetts, Dartmouth, which is closed for the day. He has been in the very, very prestigious school. He has been in this country for at least 1 year. His father is currently in Russia and is claiming that the two boys aren't and weren't religious. We also got this from the uncle. And I played that video for you a few moments ago. His now dead brother is dead, has been killed. We don't know if he killed himself, if he blew himself up, or if he was shot by the police. The police and special forces seem to be incredibly inept in the respect and the fact that the suspect that is supposedly still alive is literally on the run and they can't find him. So you've got the whole city of Boston on lockdown and an absolute police state of martial law being implemented. You're supposed to stay indoors and they can't find this guy. Cambridge announces 2011 City Scholarship recipients. The city of Cambridge has announced the 2011 City Scholarship recipients for seniors at Cambridge Ridge and Latin School and other pursuing higher education. One of the recipients was the suspect. So again, as I mentioned before, a lot of the time these terrorists, or at least these alleged terrorists, are of very high intelligence. And they attended, or at least one of them attended, the same school of the Matt Damon, and Ben Affleck. This is kind of like the violent version of Good Will Hunting. In fact, maybe and Ben Affleck can get together and kind of do like a terrorist version of this. I mean, Affleck just dropped Argo, the Oscar-winning propaganda piece. Remember, Michelle Obama's on camera. She's like, "Hi, I'm Michelle Obama," and she shows up at the Oscars. And it's, to propagandize Iran and their nuclear programs. Notice how nothing of that nature is being talked about right now. It's all about the bombing suspects. This is the biggest spoke screen that I've ever seen. Europe is now a side note. The economic collapse is a side note. Cyprus is a side note. North Korea is a flashpoint for World War III as a side note. It's all about, Islamic terrorism again. Why are we being propagandized this way? So, one of the suspects attended this very prestigious school that was attended by Matt Damon, Ben Affleck, and Patrick Ewing, the famous basketball player. Let me go ahead and show you this video here. Let me get out of there. Okay, so here I was looking at some of the YouTube stream. And we have yet to add any archived or delayed videos. Again, I'm doing this live stream today because it's just the best way to do it as all these stories are breaking. You can see all the videos coming out now about the Middle Eastern descent and Islamic terrorism. Here's a video, the Boston bombing brothers. Let's see if I can actually play this again, too, for you. Let's go to YouTube. Okay, so that was one of the alleged videos pulled from YouTube of one of the brothers, and hopefully I'm literally just testing out this video player on today's broadcast for the first time, so hopefully it's working, and hopefully you're actually hearing the footage there. He's mocking dialects. I don't really tell a whole lot from that. Let's go take a look at the actual alleged YouTube channel of one of the suspects here. Can you see here's a Google page. This was reported by the Washington Post. YouTube account that belongs to a person named Tamerlan Tersnarv. You're gonna have to figure out how to pronounce that. I had bookmarked videos on terrorism. As the world scours the web for information about Tamerlan, the suspect in the Boston Marathon who was killed, looking for any clue of what may have driven him to such a horrific act, someone has unearthed a YouTube account that appears under the name. The video suggests a man who was deeply pious but held a stern view of his own faith. The Washington Post does not confirm that the account belongs to the suspect. The account listed under the name Tamerlan, identified as active since August 2012, includes 2 videos under the subcategory terrorists. It also includes 7 videos filed under Islam, 5 under favorite videos, and 3 under Timur Mukarev, a popular Chechen singer. Both of the videos filed under terrorists cannot be viewed as they have been removed from the YouTube since the owner of the account had added them. An error page says that the account had allegedly and originally posted the videos has been terminated. A common YouTube response to hate speech videos of incitements to violence. The videos were likely removed long before Friday's news. One of the favorite video lists, 7 steps to a successful prayer. Another denounces Sufism, a more mystical branch of Islam. Another with the title, One of the Signs of Allah, shows a chameleon changing colors at will as a man sings Arabic prayers in the background. Several of the videos under Islam are by a man named Abdul Hamid al-Juhani, who is listed by Salafist web portal as a scholar. His videos include Arabic audio and Russian text and shows photos of the Chechen capital. Another video under the Islam heading shows young men carrying assault rifles through a forest as a narrator intones. They demonize as terrorists anyone who supports Islam. So it goes on and on here. Here is the actual YouTube, the alleged YouTube page. It has 293 subscribers. It was created August 17, 2012, so at least that lays to some of the claim that this potentially could be authentic. This is the likes section here of Tamerlan Tsarnaev. In fact, I wonder if we can actually see who he subscribed to, and I might look at that in a moment. Here are some of the videos. One of the videos I found really interesting, and again, how I talk about this as a spiritual war. Lucifer is God in the public school system. Lucifer is God in the public school system. In fact, from the Twitter account, from one of the suspects, he says a quote and references Jay-Z. I know Mark Dice is going to have an absolute friggin' field day with this, so especially because he quoted Jay-Z, and you know, Jay-Z is an alleged luminous. We hear Mark Dice talk about this all the time. He does a really good job reporting on that perspective. This video I want to play for you, but I'm almost a little hesitant to play because I know it's going to come up on copyright infringement if I do it. So what I might do is in post-production of this broadcast, I will provide a clickable link for those of you watching this as soon as this goes up. Those of you watching live, you can obviously just look it up. Vinnie Paz, End of Days, featuring Block McCloud music. Watch this. I watched a minute or so of it. It's all about being awake. It's all about how we are manipulated and mind-controlled and propagandized by the system, the school system, the media, you know, our indoctrination into American society, culture, society in general, the militarization of our society, the military-industrial complex, the wars overseas, very much the spiritual battle that we're involved in, things I talk about all the time. It's very interesting that that's one of the videos, allegedly, that was a favorite or a liked video for this suspect. You know, a lot of questions there. So watch that video. I'm going to refrain from playing it just because I know how stringent Google is on their whole copyright issues, which I find to be ridiculous at times, that we can't just show all the material for you. So you can watch that video, and I'll put up a link in the post-production format here of this re-archived show so you can watch that, or you can Google it live now. I still see we have, our room is quite full. Let's see if there's any other updates here, and then I'm going to probably close, and we'll update you throughout the day. Back to the Drudge Report. You know, what we've already discussed and what we know is that the black hat Tamerlan is dead. The white hat suspect is on the loose. So, you know, in closing, here we have Boston in a total state of lockdown, martial law. You can see the guns here, the guns that they're using. You know, the ones that President Barack Obama wants to ban. We see how the administration and the mainstream media clearly wants to label this an act of Islamic terror. How the mainstream media has already jumped on the bandwagon of, you know, Muslim extremism, the religious nature of all of this. Again, America needs to fear Muslims. We need to fear Islamic terrorism. We need to fear the Easter Bunny. We need to fear Osama bin Laden. You know, just like the movie Team America, F yeah. We need to fear all of this. These are the latest developments. Again, I'm Christopher Green. This is AMTV, Alternative Media Television. Hard-hitting it in your face. I'll be updating you throughout the day. We'll be analyzing this in a lot more detail. Please continue to send us tips via our tip line, tips@amtvmedia.com. We've been thumbing through those. I've been reading through those over the past 72 plus hours that we've been at work, you know, covering these stories. Pretty amazing. This is, you know, this is almost like O.J. Simpson chase, as some of these reports have indicated, in the technological age, coupled with the, you know, Boston Marathon bombing, the Waco bombing, the Oklahoma City bombing, you know, very much similar to those types of events, those types of terrorist acts that we've had before. We have a giant smoke screen for the gun legislation that actually failed at the Senate a day or so ago, didn't get the 60 needed votes. Now Joe Biden says that Vice President Joe Biden has indicated that President Barack Obama is going to use executive privilege to accomplish this legislation, to accomplish this tyranny on the American people. This is the latest. This is what we're dealing with here in America. It is very upsetting. It is very questionable. Again, we're not here just to take the mainstream media's word for any of this. There's a lot of holes to the official story, a lot that is not being talked about. We're going to do our best to continue coverage on this. Thank you for all that you do, sharing our content. Get this archive video as soon as I get it back up in just a few minutes here out to all of your friends and family. You have the power to share this, to make this stuff viral, to make sure it's noticed, to make sure people are asking the tough questions. Again, you are the resistance. You are the watchdog. We are the watchdog here at AMTV along with you. Let's demand answers. Let's continue asking these tough questions. Let's not take any of this at face value. What we want and what we have always wanted is the truth. Bottom line, at the end of the day, make no mistake about it, America, this is a spiritual war. This is a religious battle for truth, good versus evil, darkness versus righteousness. And it's about truth. It's about, as I put out a video yesterday that said, defeating evil. This is about, in my opinion, trying to make the world a better place. trying to educate our friends and family, those that are already awake, and those that are struggling with that. Struggling with truth. Struggling with the fact that they just can't come to the grips. They can't come to grips with the fact that the United States government openly has, will, and has historically, and in the present and in the future continues to kill innocents in order to achieve political objectives and to achieve political gain. These are all things that we need to be very wary of, and we need to ask these very difficult questions. We need to ask the question, why is our society deteriorated to this extent? Why do we keep experiencing these devastating, horrific type terror events? What's driving this? Who's driving this? But more importantly, why? Get it up. Get this rebroadcast everywhere. Share it on your multimedia networks, social media accounts, social media networks, popular websites, embed it all over the internet. Get it out to the viewing public. Share it, tweet it, Facebook it. Follow us on YouTube. Thank you very much. We'll keep you posted.